Hey man, I have speaking of being embarrassed about PUBG and Pawn Scum, do you want to talk about the Callisto protocol?
I mean, there's stuff to talk about for sure.
Oh
There's at least
man.
there's at least one docket story here or there, but yeah, let's like the again to the George Carlin bit, right? Sometimes you got to throw the rock in the scum and dive
Yeah.
in to try and build your immune system up. So
Right, yeah. Just
so
eat a sandwich off the sidewalk in Calcutta, Mr. Carlin. Thank you.
now I saw the first thing I got after we last discussed Callisto Protocol was videos of people showing off that you can cancel gun into melee, and then basically putting that together to be like, hey, you know that thing, Wooly, that you've been trying to do in Silent Hill and
Yeah.
in Dark Dead Space? Well, this game actually lets you do it. This lets you do melee into gun combos as a full
Yeah.
string into a lock-in execution. And I saw a sequence and it looked rad as shit and unintended.
Mhm. Very
So
very unintended.
so this game has melee.
So I'm gonna bring you down a little story. So a long time ago, there was a absolutely fantastic series of horror games that had a lot of action shooting in them. And then that team and the head developer ended up leaving their original parent company. It was a really big company, and moving on to make a completely new company so they could, really follow their dreams. And by follow their dreams, what I mean is that their new parent company told them to make the same game they made the last time.
Mm-hmm.
And they went, oh, okay. And then they worked real hard on it. And then it came out to middling reviews, a lost focus, unfavorable comparisons to the game they made before, and a wide string of horrible technical issues. And that game was The Evil Within.
Mm-hmm.
And Callisto Protocol is like literally the exact same thing,
Except for a different franchise.
except for instead of RE4, it's Dead Space 1 and 2.
So the history of the spiritual successor game by the Phoenix studio is supposed to be a happy and joyous occasion where you go,
Right?
look, they're making the thing that they like, that they're good at, that they're passionate about.
So I think the best part about this is that both stories link up in a way that's like very highly specific, which is Shinji Mikami was like, "We're gonna make all sorts of weird shit," and then in an interview, he's like, "Yeah, when we showed up, they told me to make a game like RE4 again,"
Yes.
and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And if you remember, Callisto Protocol was originally actually a PUBG spinoff.
Set in the PUBG universe.
And then the Dead Space remake got announced, and then all of a sudden, it started to look more and more like Dead Space. I don't know how
Um,
much of that was a coincidence or how much of that was intentional, but it did.
if I recall correctly, the reveal trailer was within the PUBG world, and then the second trailer
Yeah.
was the reset.
So,
Although,
you played through Dead Space 1 and 2. Those games are great.
not two, not yet.
Oh, not 2? Okay, you played through Dead Space 1. That's fine. That game's great.
Hmm.
You got the UIs in the world, and you got the
Yeah.
little health bar on the back.
Why shouldn't a trailer then come out later and say no longer a part of the PUBG universe?
So that wasn't that
Just to
that was
clarify.
that was an interview, not a trailer. But, and this is my favorite part, Susie found like PUBG iconography on like in universe desks. She found like the fucking stupid helmet that the PUBG guy is wearing on the cover, just hanging out on
Nice.
somebody. So they didn't get all of it.
Perfect.
Um,
Nor the Eula, apparently, either.
yeah.
Which we'll get there.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that thing is so.
Yeah.
You load up. Uh, so you crash and it's space, and there's space monsters, and it's it's just worse Dead Space. Like visually, art wise,
Oh yeah.
story wise. Like you discover within the first 40 minutes of the game that like, oh, why are there monsters everywhere? Well, because the head of the prison is into some kind of weird religion and thinks that this is the way forward for humanity. Like it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but all the monsters are like zombie mans.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like crazy body horror freaks. They're dudes
Mm-hmm.
with like and like the first like monster you encounter. He's a dude that's a little bigger, and he's got like he's got like two faces that are like, and it's like, where's the extra arms? Where's the weird body contortion? But they're like, that's okay because you're gonna be fighting these dudes with your fucking stick. You're gonna get a big old stun baton, and you're gonna be melee combating these guys. And the way the melee combat works is if they attack you, you dodge left or right, and then you can dodge the other direction. Like if you dodge right, you have to dodge left on the next one to dodge their strikes. And then when there's an opening, you do a quick 1-2-3 combo on them, or you can upgrade to 1-2-3-4. And then if you do that, then you can pull your piece and you can shoot them, and it'll auto track, like it locks on. It's so hard that the camera starts going nuts. And then once you shoot them, you can go back into your combo 1-2-3 1-2-3.
Okay.
Right? And so you're like, wow, that's actually like kind of punch out cool.
Yeah.
There are like immediate, and I mean like immediate systemic problems with that system right away. First of all, there's no timing. When an enemy runs at you, it literally explains to you, just hold left and you will dodge their first strike. There's no timing to it. There's no button. It's hold left, and when they attack you, you'll dodge. And then as soon as you start dodging, hold the other direction and you'll dodge again. So there's no timing. There's nothing, right? So it's super 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 easy. Okay?
Okay.
If you're not confident, you can hold back to block, but blocking hurts you. So don't ever.
And dodging is perfect, and it always
And dodging
starts
is
left.
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, no,
okay.
it doesn't matter what direction, left or right. It doesn't matter. So you hold a left or right direction, and so Paige was going through it, and she was having an okay time, and I wanted to feel what the controls were like, and I picked it up, and in one of those rooms in Dead Space where like 10 guys come at you, well in Callisto Protocol they come at you like they will run up to you and then kind of stop to do the shuffle.
Yep.
To get into your camera lock.
Yep.
And I discovered that like the game, like the enemies are solvable, in that like they, after their animation, like when they're ready to be hit, when it's your turn to hit them, they stop for a second because I guess they're monster tired. And so I was just like, okay, here comes one. Dodge, dodge, 1-2-3, shoot. 1-2-3, shoot. Dead. Next one. Dodge, dodge, 1-2-3, shoot. 1-2-3, shoot. Okay, dead. Next one. And like they're solvable. Like you there's an equation to beat enemies that is perfect and just works. And then on top of that, you have the the TK power from Dead Space?
Yeah.
Okay, so they have released the rule you can pick up enemies. You can pick up entire enemies. And so you just pick up an enemy and turn and just throw them into the spinning blades, and the enemy is now deleted. And then you take an enemy and turn and throw him off the ledge, and the enemy is now deleted. And
just
like,
Jedi the problem away.
Yeah, and so like there's tons, and I'm like, how am I supposed to how what's supposed to hurt me here, right? And then I found out what's supposed to hurt me is sometimes they take their turn one at a time, and sometimes they just smack you in the back when you're engaged in the dodge back and forth melee combat with a different guy. Sometimes they hide in the corner and fire projectiles at you that you can't see until they hit you. And that's how encounters are made tough.
Okay.
Encounters are made tough by putting enough enemies into it that they blindside you.
If you spend your TK to delete an enemy, is it on cooldown?
No, I was able to do 3 in a row, and then
Cool.
it's on cooldown for a
Okay.
minute. Hey, Wooly, did you did you've played a horror game that plays like this game? And that game is Silent Hill Homecoming.
Okay. Right. That game, Silent Hill Homecoming's combat though, like from what I remember, it you just kind of like you run, and then if it gets up to you, you go into like a kind of like a cutscene tackle mode, right?
No, no,
Didn't
that's
wasn't
not
there
at
like
all.
a thing where like it's when it's up in your face, you have like canned dodges?
Yes.
Yeah,
You
that's kind of
can
what I'm
dodge it. Yeah.
remembering. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Um and the there's all that, and then the other thing that's like, so it doesn't have the Dead Space like hold your hand out and look at the right path thing. So I spoke to people who beat the game, and the reason why it doesn't happen is because the game is a hallway. Um, Paige was playing it for like 3.5 hours, and there was like one like laundry room she went off into the side, and the rest was like literally like, if you know, if you gray boxed it, it
Yeah.
would be like a 5 foot wide hallway, like the whole way through.
Only one enemy type so far?
Oh no, there were 3 enemy types. There was the zombie monster, and then there was the fatter zombie monster that had no changes, and then there was the zombie monster that's a foot taller and can spit acid,
Right, the shooter,
but you
right.
beat up the rest of the. It is like, and my favorite part is that on PC it was like a stuttering fucking mess until we fucked with it, and I have the new computer, so I could power through it. But most people, it was just like an absolute stuttering, like unplayable mess, because like you're trying to do dodges and melee combat, and then the game is like stuttering down to like 5 frames.
Hmm.
And it turns out that the reason why it was stuttering so badly was that somebody rushed it at the last second and uploaded like a bad version of the game
Oh
and
no,
made
not
a
the bad
mistake.
build. Oh
Well, no, I don't think
god.
it's a bad build, but somebody made a mistake at the last second because they were rushing,
Okay.
and so the patch is out now, and it's like, I wonder what could have caused a mistake from somebody rushing at the last second on this game that people were working on for 7 days a week for 6 months straight. And Glenn
The
Schofield was like, "Crunch is the
the
best."
walls closing in, crunching in
Oh,
around
so
you,
people are
if you
are
would.
correcting me. They pushed out a version with shader pre-compilation disabled.
Nice. Yep.
Um,
Get your
so yeah,
cereal
it
out.
was
Pour
a bad
yourself a
build.
bowl of Captain Crunch. Exactly. So this is a very funny contrast coming right off of Signalis, which
Oh yeah,
is a survival horror love letter, and has very simple goals and
yeah,
accomplishes them in simple ways. Where, you know, as you're talking about combat, for example, the complexity in a game like that, mirroring Silent Hill or older Resident Evils, is not going to ask you for much in terms of just like shoot the thing, try to get 2 headshots on it to make it go down, right?
hmm
To solve, quote unquote, the problem. But there's other things going on with like the puzzling of your navigation and the inventory and such. But it does all that. It does it pretty simple, and then it works, and then it also has a compelling narrative pushing you forward.
hmm
Um, and I guess here we're looking at like another beloved sort of spiritual remake in a way, or whatever, homage to something. But like, there's so many moving parts, so there's more examples of things you can fuck up, and so the more those things fuck up, the worse the overall impression is. Um, it's it's interesting to watch the contrast between like a dish with too many ingredients and like you're getting many of them wrong versus very few ingredients and you get them all right.
I think the funniest thing about it is that Callisto was clearly crunched like even up to the last second. Like people, you don't release a game on December 2nd unless that's the last minute you could possibly fucking release it. Like you missed Black Friday, for fuck's sake.
Sure.
But like Signalis, on the other hand, was they put out a trailer, and people like 3 years ago, and people were like, "When's it coming out?" And then you hit a fucking blank stare until like 2 months before Signalis came out. They were like, "Yeah, it's coming out. It's done. We finished it."
Because, like, there's something to be said about, hey, did you like Dead Space? Then you'll fucking like this, and then that's it, right? But yeah, if the things that are compelling kind of are left behind, like that melee combo shit sounds super rad, and it looked super rad as well. I don't like hearing the word solved in regards to enemies, but
it does not. It feels pretty good the first time you do it, and then you realize that nothing in the game can. So the clip you're talking about, right, is you're using the aim to cancel your melee swing, right? So here's the fun part about that. The way it's supposed to work in game is at the end of your combo, you're allowed to shoot the enemy, and you're able to just instantly aim at them, and it locks on super strong. And you're supposed to shoot them, and then that puts them in a hit stun, and then you keep meleeing them. So it's supposed to be when you're meleeing, you're using ammunition to continue your combo. But it turns out if you just tap aim and just don't, the enemy's still in so much hit stun that you can just keep going your combo anyway. So now it's free.
Yeah.
But the camera's going nuts while you're doing it. There's no way that's the way it's supposed to be. And you're not supposed to show people that that's how it works. It's against the rules.
So the other thing, of course, with Dead Space is different weapon types add variety to the kill. And the enemies, you have to aim a certain way. You got to figure out the situation. Are you getting other weapon types that are unique and or different that make you engage in a different way?
In the entire stream that Paige was playing, she had a pistol, and she unlocked the schematic for a shotgun, but was not able to build the shotgun. She didn't have enough credits. But it was a stun baton, and it was a pistol for about 4 hours.
Okay. Is the atmosphere doing its
No.
job? Really? Wow.
No, it's because it's a hallway, and also none of the enemies are scary, and like they'll like have a grunt come out of the floorboard, like a grate. They'll just, and then you just beat it with a pipe for like 10 seconds and effortlessly kill it. So like
the challenge, okay.
Right? Like there's nothing to aim at, right? Because it's all auto locked and shit. Like I remember in Dead Space, like really early, like there's like the slashers just come out of a vent like really far from you and start running towards you, and you have to go, I have to hit their legs adequately so that I slow them down and they fall, and then I can finish them off later.
Right.
It also has a stomp.
Yeah, it has to.
And the stomp sucks.
That's crazy.
The stomp is bad compared to Dead Space.
But the stomp is everything.
Yeah, it's bad. It's not heavy. Enemies don't like freak out in their ragdolls and go nuts, and the sound isn't like that like that fuck. Yeah, it's gone. It's not. Also, the save game system doesn't work.
Oh no.
The saves don't work.
Okay, that should have actually no. That should be below the stomp on the list of criticisms. That
when
comes
you
second.
when you go to a workbench, when you go to a workbench and then like, do all your upgrades and stuff like that, and then go and die, you load back to whatever checkpoint you had before the workbench, and you have to do all the workbench shit over again.
Oh no! Oh my god!
But on top of that, when you save the game, you can save anywhere. and saving anywhere doesn't matter because all it does is it resaves over the last checkpoint, and when you go to load it, it just loads the last checkpoint
Oh my god. Okay. So
and doesn't actually save anything.
it's not an actual, yeah.
The save button doesn't, like, I can't even explain it. Like, it doesn't do anything because it always just goes to the autosave.
It picks the same slot.
Even if you have a different manual save, the manual save is just saying go back to this autosave.
Once upon a time, there was a check for that called confirmation of destructive actions, in which if a player manually says, I want my progress here, and then the game says, no, we're just going to go over that at your next checkpoint, that would be deleting something that the player intended, and that would be a fucking unshippable block, you know, for compliance purposes. But
yeah,
Jesus.
It seems to just be a very strange way to do chapter select because you go, I want to go to the checkpoint before this one. I don't know. The game, and here's the thing: the game looks nice. It controls fairly well. It's got very fancy face capture stuff. It's got decent sound, but it's literally just we have Dead Space at home.
Is it it's roguelike?
No.
What? Okay. Someone's
No.
crazy. All right.
Someone is crazy. It's fucking it's so mid. It's like the most 5 out of 10 shit I've seen in a while.
Is there any sort of environmental like you know, Dead Space, you got the zero grav, and you got like you know, air, you've got like other, yeah, okay. Like is there other factors in puzzles or in level, you know, other mechanics that are crucial to figure out, or is it just headshot what you see and
no, the headshots don't matter because the heads don't matter. So that's the one thing they kept from Dead Space.
They kept that, okay.
But honestly, in the whole time Paige was basically playing, there was like no reason to shoot anything at all. She was drowning in ammunition. Okay, so as per Susie and Gerard, there are no puzzles of any kind.
Nothing at all. Jesus.
I had a guy in my chat the other day that had beaten it and described it as the Final Fantasy 13 of horror games. Just an endless hallway.
So what if PUBG but spooky lighting in a single player context?
I guess, dude. It's so disappointing.
Oh man.
But it's like they put enough money into it that it's not like a 2, it's like a 5. Like, I could not recommend this to anyone.
Jeez.
Like, total bummer.
I mean, the fact that the Dead Space remake was around the corner and they had to like swerve the project around based on that is already kind of a weird late decision, you know, to make on something like that high budget.
Like it
has there been?
It says a lot about Callisto Protocol that there's a clip floating around of Max getting so frustrated with it that he just pauses and just uninstalls it and goes, okay, that's it.
I heard he live deleted it.
That says everything, man, because he's pretty patient.
Yeah, I kind of, so there's things that like really help tell you, like let you get the lay of the land, and I would say like getting to a first boss, if there is any, would be an interesting like way to get the lay of the land, so to speak, because it speaks volumes about the game. You get to the first boss in Sonic Frontiers, and that says something about that game. You know?
I have been told by people trying to correct me in chat that the bosses that are there will one-shot you, so that's how they're tough.
Okay. On that note, actually, turning up the difficulty for regular encounters, like, would that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that would,
I don't think it. What could they even?
That's what I'm wondering. Is like if the answer is they don't stagger as long or something, that might change things. But
people are saying there's basically 2 bosses and one you fight 4 times in a row in a 90-minute span.
Gotcha. Okay.
Great. Yeah, no, And so now we know why you and Paige were sent codes, but not me, because I, being the horror master, would have known and been so much more harsher. That's the reason.
Well, to be fair, I was sent an opportunity at a code, to which I replied and was not replied to.
I
So,
have
that's fine.
I have actually a slight bit of information on that. Where the main source to get fucking Callisto protocol codes was a website that you would like sign up
Yeah, I
like a
remember
key mailer
those.
thing.
Yeah, totally.
But it didn't have any limits or any human verification.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you found it and had an account that could access it, you could
Mm-hmm.
just get as many codes as you want. And then it became, sorry, we ran out of codes.
Mm.
Must be so popular.
Yeah, I think replying after replying the same day that the clip came out where we were shitting on them for the whole crunch thing is
Yeah.
probably not the best way to queue up them going like, who's this? Click on the
Oh,
thing.
darn.
Oh, yeah, okay. So that is unfortunate. That is a shame. Damn.
Well, if it follows the evil within, if it follows the evil within trajectory, Callisto Protocol 2 will be really good. But there's actually something that's much more troubling. Um, every single like attempt at horror or spookiness in Callisto Protocol that I saw was a straight rip of an earlier Dead Space jump scare that was executed worse.
Hmm.
In particular, right when me and Paige stopped, you get onto, and you played Dead Space 1, so you'd remember this very well. You get onto a conveyor belt, like little
Mm-hmm.
sideways elevator, and you
Mm-hmm.
start going, and then oh no, there's a bunch of necromorphs on the other side, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to shoot them before you get there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in Callisto Protocol, what you do is you just TK them and drop them,
Oh
and the
yes,
encounter is over in 1 second.
the Force Unleashed. Yeah.
And then fun thing that you mentioned that the guy who plays Starkiller is in the game as a character, and he
Nice.
starts TKing you around the room like fucking Starkiller.
I mean,
Um,
those face models are
oh,
still
they're very good.
unbelievable. They look
Yeah.
incredible. You know.
And then so after you do that thing where you just drop them in the pit. In Dead Space 1, what you did is you entered into the engine room that you fight the pregnant for the first time. And in this game, you just fight like 11 guys that you beat in like 4 minutes because there's nothing they can do to you except shoot you in the back.
So the impression I'm
Hey man, Dead
getting,
Space 2 is good. You should play Dead Space 2. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah. No, we're working towards it. The impression I'm getting as a late silent horror, as a late survival horror experiencer, enjoyer, one might even say, is that I guess there's just there's a hard line for basically the games and or people behind the spoops in the games and shit. It's like you either can just break it up until you get it or you don't get it.
Absolutely.
And if you're copying it but you don't get it, it's gonna fail every single time.
Which is wild because like from Dead Space to this is actually the same people. So like they did get it at some point. They totally got it.
Hmm.
Also, I thought what you were gonna say is that survival horror has like very little middle ground.
Well,
Like that, like
that is what I said. It's there's no like
oh yeah, okay, I
that
understand.
I've never heard you or anyone else describe a survival horror game in terms that were like, yeah, it's like it's pretty much like no, that's a good one, or holy shit, that completely fell apart.
The
You
only
know?
in between that there is like, yeah, no, that game is bad, but it has this cool thing in it.
Right. Yeah. You kind of have a duty to get lore first and foremost. You know,
There's an auto dodge. Get
be
out of fuck.
beyond the holding the direction thing you mentioned.
Get out of town.
Hmm.
Then what are you doing? The Callisto Protocol auto dodge makes it so that you can hold the same direction for every attack the enemy does. You no longer need to alternate between holding left and right. Auto dodge makes it so you can hold in the same direction the whole time to auto dodge all attacks. So simply hold left on the left and it'll dodge all attacks.
That sounds like what you described.
However, it will not dodge attacks by any enemies behind you or to the side. You can only dodge the enemy that is in front of you. It's an accessibility option, so I understand.
Sure.
But like,
hey man, Sonic has a fucking instant full length parry button.
That you held that parry, right?
Just,
and
you just hold
super
it.
Weird. Yeah, honestly, that's a really good example. Dodging in I almost said Alpha Protocol, Callisto Protocol is very similar to holding the parry in Sonic.
Waiting for the attack to come.
It's so strange. It's so strange.
Huh, okay. That's a fucking... I mean, I don't recall... I remember when it was VGAs, I want to say, where it was announced. And it was also... Was that the same VGAs where it was, like, alongside, like, 3 other, like, survival horror things? And that, like... I can't
parse them anymore.
Yeah, like, it was announced at the same time as, like, 3 other space horror things that just kind of blended together in my brain. So, you know, oh well, I suppose.
You're better off buying Signalis 4 times than playing Callisto Protocol.
I have a very important question.
Yeah.
I've caught wind that the Dead Space 3 is not the good one.
It's not.
Which is worse?
Oh, definitely this. Definitely this.
Damn. Okay.
Dead Space 3 still has...
It's still Dead Space, just a bad
you're
one?
You're still shooting necromorphs, and you're still doing puzzles, and you're still doing, like, Dead Space shit. But, like, this is, like, there's nothing going on.
Okay. Yep. All right.